welcome back. I'm Lee Wilcox, CEO, co-founder of Electric House. And to my left, my digital left, or is it my digital right? I don't know. Virtual, sorry, not digital. Digital, virtual.
Wherever I am, I am.
Wherever he is.
Adam Barry, creative director, co-founder of Electric House. I am what they call the brains of the operation.
Yes, and I am. Does that make me what's the saying? The brains and the.
I was being funny because you're clearly the brains and I'm clearly the beauty, aren't I?
No, but it's not brains and beauty. What do they say? It's like brains and brawn. That's it, Bex. Thank you. You know, like the heavy lifting side of it. Because obviously that's me. Wait.
At the time, I think Lee was the only one with a car when we started the business. And let's be honest, Lee, it was a right rust bucket. Remember that Mondeo?
Yeah, the Burgundy Bullet. To say that the greatest entrepreneurs only exist in London is stupid. Yeah, they're all over the country. People just move to London to start their business a lot.
People outside of media, if you said to them, I want to become a YouTuber, they just laugh at you and go, come on, mate, you need to be a bit more serious than that. Go and get a proper job. Whereas now, if I meet someone 16, 17 years old, looking at me and going, I want to become a content creator and see if I can crack the YouTube thing, I'll be like, that sounds amazing. That is a great career.
You know, I'm a piece of shit. I started speaking to him and like, wow, you could scale this, you could do this, and you'd say that. And he was like, no. You're missing the point. So welcome back. As always, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment, leave a review, and also jump over to YouTube. We've got a cheeky little channel over there, haven't we, Adam?
We sure have. The Lee and Adam channel on YouTube. We're putting a lot of effort into that. And we do read all the comments because there's only like one of them probably per week. But we do read them all and we do try and engage with people on there. So if you've got anything you want to talk about, anything you want us to talk about, sling a comment in and we'll be sure to get back to you.
And you know, because they're low comments at the moment, oh God, you don't have to get some coverage on that. Where it's like messaging you every day, asking you how the comment's gone, how it felt making that comment. Maybe some feedback on the comment itself.
Yeah, we could come around your house.
Yeah. If you leave a comment on our YouTube channel, we will come and visit you after lockdown, not at the minute, because we'd be breaking guidelines. Look, all the heavy lifting out of the way, all the promotion shit that Jamie makes us do. Thank you, Jamie. Look, we're going through a heavy recruitment drive at the minute, and I think we've come across our own challenges, but it got us thinking about just Birmingham, you know, and we've not long been there really. Obviously, we've always classed ourselves as like a Midlands business or a Birmingham business, haven't we, really? But I guess for the majority of our journey, we've been more of a Tamworth business, not a Birmingham one. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I think anyone who doesn't know where Tamworth is, it's like 15, 20 miles outside of Birmingham city centre. A small, old mining town, about 70,000 people live there, which, you know, I'm very proud to live in Tamworth, by the way. A lot of people from Tamworth slag Tamworth up. We've got a castle, we've got a snow dome, and we've got...
We've got a snow dome, like a snow dome and a castle are the same thing. Like there's lots of snow domes around. There's snow domes up in Edinburgh and...
What more do you need? We've got Costas, we've got Lidl's, we've got Aldi's. You know, we're basically loving life in Tamworth. Lee's got a Costa right now.
Did you know there's 7 Costas in Tamworth? I think that's outrageous.
That's a lot. And there's planning permission for another one at John Lewis now, apparently. Which
I've seen that. A Costa and I think it's a Lidl or an Aldi. You'll be happy, a Lidl.
Yeah, I'm a Lidl fan. I'll be honest. There are other coffee shops available, Jamie said. But no, I think being in Tamworth, obviously, when you start a business for yourself and you both live in Tamworth, the putting your offices in Tamworth makes complete sense. It was like, well, it's down the road. At the time, I think Lee was the only one with a car when we started the business. And let's be honest, Lee, it was a right rust bucket. Remember that Mondeo?
Yeah, the Burgundy Bullet.
Yeah, the Burgundy Bullet. So that's the reason we stayed in Tamworth, because it was easy. But the struggles were trying to get talented people to come in and work from Tamworth, because people hadn't heard of it. You know, when you're trying to get this like cool agency vibe and it's like, where are you based? Fazeley, Tamworth. They're like, where?
On an industrial estate. I mean, I love that building. I did love it, but we needed to move, didn't we? And yeah, like you say, getting people to come out of, but because, you know, look, the data shows the talent pools of young people don't just exist in the town that the business is operating in. And, you know, our big talent pool sat in Birmingham, and we were trying to get people to come out of Birmingham into Tamworth. Usually it's the other way around. People want to travel from the suburbs into the city centre, you know, from a working capacity. So we didn't have that pull, did we? And I think we did okay. You know, I mean, we got up to like 45, 48 people, something like that at Fazeley, which was too much for that building. And I would say 95% of those people are still with us now. So it's not like we just employed people short term to just get by. They were good people and good for the business. But we were at a threshold, weren't we? And we needed to move. And I think that conversation around like being in the right location, I think people think that locations for businesses is all just built around if you sell product, you know. So yeah, if you've got a shop front, then yeah, you need to be city centre, or you need to have good foot traffic, whatever it might be. But I think it definitely matters still when you sort of a behind the scenes, closed doors business as well. And moving to Birmingham was something we needed to do, like definitely, no doubt.
You look at go on.
No, go on. You go, Adam.
I was just going to say, you know, you look at what's around us in terms of up and coming agencies, Lee, and you know, London's covered off. You've got, you know, Jungle Creations down there. The Go, I know they don't do what we do, but very, very young agency. Then, so London's covered. There's obviously more than that, but there's just a couple that stand out. And then
there's a couple that you're willing to mention.
There's a couple I'm willing to mention. Then Manchester was booming, and you've seen the likes of Lad Bible and Social Chain coming out of Manchester, and they've took over that space, and I think they've done a really good job. Say what you like about Lad Bible and Social Chain. They did put Manchester on the map from like this new agency perspective, but no one's done it in Birmingham, you know, and that's where we seen a gap. We thought we are that person, we are that company, to move into Birmingham and take it over. And there's so much potential there, and we've scratched the surface barely. There's so much more to come. Yeah,
and there's, when you look at Birmingham as a city, obviously, you know, I think people from Birmingham bang on about the fact that it's like, you know, it's the second city, it should be more, and I think it's right. But what I would say, and the change I've seen in the city in the last decade, is just the investment going into it from a business perspective. There's so many businesses popping up. Even things when you look at like Digbeth Dining, do you know what I mean? Like that popping up, Digbeth as an area. So, you know, for those that you don't know Birmingham as an area, Digbeth was like a rundown like warehouse factory area, really, wasn't it? It's like the industrial part of the city centre, and it got to a point where it was a bit hammered, but then a lot of like-minded entrepreneurs got together and started making a bit of a music and night scene there, and that turned into food then. And Digbeth Dining is this massive event now that goes on every, you know, used to, and hopefully it can still survive once lockdown sorted, is that where it's a food and drink space for people to for independent retailers to sell their products and get a name, and it became this thing where people would build their businesses from being there and then be able to like take it further. You know, it became a real like startup ground for businesses, and I think that sort of thing happening in the city centre is amazing. And then you got other businesses cropping up from it, didn't you? Things like like all these like sports bar type things, but they're, say sports bar, they're not. They're like games bars, aren't they? Activity bars. I wouldn't call it an activity bar because it's a bit of a shit tagline, but things where you can do, you know, you can play ping pong, pool, what's the one like shuffleboard, you know, you've got all those things like cropping up. You've then got like the darts bars that are coming about now. You see these things and you go, God, as if that exists, but now it's like a normal thing, isn't it, when a bar will get created and it does a certain activity. I seen one the other day crop up with these, and it's I can't think what it was called, but it was like a version of table tennis, right? And it's a wall, yeah, with a hole in the middle of it, and it's a deep wall, and then the ping pong ball goes through this like deep hole, and you just stand either side of the hole and wait for it to come out. And you just have to smash it back again. I was like, that's mad. But I can imagine, obviously, when you're having a drink and you're with your mates, like a pretty wicked game to play. And I love the vibe that's happening through Birmingham in that space. I think it's brilliant. And then you've got like HSBC that have now rocked up in Birmingham as their head office. And I think that's moved the city centre on. Massive investment in terms of its logistics and like the tram system that's been put through there. And just seems like there's I mean, if you go through Birmingham city centre, the amount of building work that's going on at the minute is just incredible.
Yeah. I think people are looking at like, you know, what does the landscape look like in 10, 20, 30 years time? And it isn't all about London. You know, with the introduction of, you know, HS2, it's you can live in Birmingham and you can be in London within the hour. Now I know there are certain lines that can get you there now, but it will just become a lot easier. And then that'll probably raise a hell of a lot of the prices around Birmingham then, because you don't have to be in London to work in London anymore. So I think people are catching on to that, and I think that's probably a big reason why you've seen the likes of HSBC and other companies moving from London and setting up in Birmingham. It's a big move, that is, you know.
Yeah, we were going to get Channel 4, weren't we? And that was on the cards for ages, and then like, last minute it all like fell to pieces, and they moved to Leeds, which is a shame because it would have been great if Channel 4 moved. Might have been able to get a bit more of a media play within the Midlands, but I think, for me, it's that, like you just said then about the house prices and all of that type of thing. I think, you know, house prices mean something in areas. They have a massive knock-on effect to who lives there and the sort of general like localized GDP and like the wealth and value of that area. And I think two things. One, lockdown has obviously made a massive difference to that now. People, and you've seen it in America where a lot of people who are working in Silicon Valley have now like moved to these like beautiful places in America because they're like, I don't need to be there. I'm not even going into the office. Lots of companies now coming out saying that I think it was at Unilever the other day saying that they'll never operate a full-time desk system ever again. So like they've already come out and said that they will not have full-time employees as based out of the office. And I think that's going to happen massively. So when you have those two things together, the huge investment that's going into Birmingham anyway, you know, with HS2, and the fact that lockdown is making everything more remote from a working capacity, it is definitely going to allow people to live 2 hours away from Birmingham. If not, you know, even like in Manchester, you could live in Manchester and work for a company that's based in London and still go there 2 days a week and have a commute of like an hour and 10 minutes. I mean, often the train at the minute isn't that bad from Manchester anyway when you go Manchester direct into London. But I think the difference, if you can do it in an hour flat and you can do it from 40 minutes in Birmingham, that is huge. So yeah, it's kind of exciting really, because like you say, it's exactly that point. It's not all about London anymore, because London is effectively going to exist everywhere because of the remote working and because of the access from a HS2 perspective. Now, obviously HS2 is not anywhere close at the minute, but it ain't going away. It's not like, I know people are still trying to fight it, but I think they've lost that battle a long time ago. So yeah, I think for me, Birmingham is becoming a really exciting place to start a business. And I'd urge people, you know, because we could have moved the business to London. What we could have done was got more space, created studios in Tamworth, and then moved every commercial activity and element to London and created more sort of creative and commercial side of things down there. That was, you know, we looked at that possibility, but we're kind of, like you said, you know, we're proud of being from Tamworth, and, you know, I'm the same as you. I think people do shit on it, but I kind of love it. And I love Birmingham, and I love the fact that we've been able to create a business that is now, you know, we went to the fort, we moved to the fort, we started with 48 people, and we're now at 90 plus. We've had 3 more people start this week, 3 last week. We will be at 140, 150 by the end of the year. How amazing that we can, you know, employ an extra 100 people since moving into the city, like, you know, within the space of less than 2 years. Like, that's incredible. you know, and I don't think we necessarily talk about that too much, even internally. I think we're just getting on with it because we need the people, but I don't think we celebrate that well enough.
Yeah. You know why? Because it came at a time where so many people were suffering, I think. And it was very difficult to go out there on LinkedIn and it not to come across like you're bragging, because it can sometimes, a fine line between sort of celebrating something and it looking like you're bragging. But I think we had to sort of like bite our tongue as this growth was going as well. It was having a lot of growing pains within the business as well. So it probably wasn't the best thing to shout about. But yeah, I think we've done a great job. And if you look back at why we wanted to move, and one of the reasons was, you know, we wanted to sort of like widen the net, I guess. And also from like a diversity point of view, because Tamworth is, I don't know the exact stats, but it's definitely 90+% probably white. I think that's fair to say. So we were just getting that as a reflection in the business, and we wasn't getting like a diverse enough set of people applying. So, you know, we've come to Birmingham and that has changed now, which is great. I think Jamie's put some stats in actually around BAME workers in digital tech.
26% of digital tech workers in Birmingham are BAME, you know, which is like over 10% higher than the rest of the UK average, which, you know, is pretty incredible, really. And another thing, Jamie's put some notes in here about the first boot camp for coding. So there's a chap called Chris Mia who we should totally get on the podcast. He runs a company called School of Code, and they're based out of Digbeth. They're in the custard factory in Digbeth. Runs a wicked business. So he takes people who aren't in tech yet, who aren't coders, puts them on a 16-week boot camp course, 12 to 16 weeks, something like that. And at the end of it, he works with recruiters to then place them into digital tech or coding roles within the Birmingham area. So it's like an amazing like turnkey process of pulling people who are out of work or who want to change careers into something to then like move it on. And it's paid for by the recruiters and by the sponsors. And you get thousands of people apply, like, and it's such a wicked. So we want to try and utilize the placement of some people to build out a team, because I think it's a really smart way of being able to like, one, it's a really good way of being able to like make sure that we get diverse talent through the door. But two, it's supporting something in Birmingham that no one else is really doing. Like, and he's so like focused on making sure that it's about the development of people rather than about like money. You know, I'm a piece of shit. I started speaking to him and like, wow, you could scale this, you could do this, and you'd say, and he was like, no, you're missing the point. This is about making sure that Birmingham's got like an epicenter for tech. Like, it hasn't got it and it needs it. And I was like, you know what a fucking ledge. Like, made me look like a piece of shit, but you know, but that's where my brain works. Think about like scale and profit, and you know, I'm not an absolute monster, but it's just interesting, isn't it, when you meet people who go, no, you miss the point. Like, this is about people, you know, and they only take like, I think it's like between like 16 and 20 on each boot camp. So it's, you know, it's not it's like really, really hard to get into it. Do you know what I mean? So I think he'd be a great guest to get on the podcast. Really, really nice guy, and thinks probably a bit differently to us, which is always good, speaking to people who think differently, isn't it?
I wouldn't beat yourself up, Lee, for that. I think that's just because you're in that mindset, and I'm very similar, and I have to then wind it back in and go, well, actually, this person might not want to scale it to have 100 people working for them and be, you know, working across the globe. But something that's interesting there, we spoke about, God, I'm probably going years back now, developing a localized like training center within the office for things like YouTube. So, you know, a YouTube school, because people outside of media, if you said to them, oh, I want to become a YouTuber, they just laugh at you and go, come on, mate, you need to be a bit more serious than that. Go and get a proper job. Whereas now, if I meet someone 16, 17 years old, looking at leaving school going, I'm really like, I want to become a content creator and see if I can crack the YouTube thing, I'll be like, that sounds amazing. That is a great career. You can learn a lot. The skill sets you can gain off the back of that. If you don't work out as a YouTuber, you can go and get a job in production or marketing. There's so many ways you can go with it. But there's nothing really out there that takes it seriously, where you could probably get some form of qualification there's very little support in that area. I think this is something we have to do once we can get it running, because we've even got YouTubers working for us.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be worried about trying to put some kind of like curriculum together to be able to like support people. And even if it was just a year where, they come and do, the key thing to that is that it's recognized elsewhere what you want to do. Because obviously you can't employ every single person that comes on board through that academy. Yeah. With the greatest will in the world, you'd like to, but you can't. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, should you employ everyone? Because actually some people might be best suited to go and work for another company, but it's actually getting the backing and the support and the value or belief, should I say, in what you're creating there from other brands, isn't it? Because it's exactly what Chris is doing over at School of Code. It's bring them in, train them up, get them going on and understanding how to really push out content marketing for individual platforms specifically. And then they can go and get a job in that, in that career, and you end up becoming this you end up becoming a recruiter and you start placing people in the best jobs possible. But you need that, you need those partnerships. You need the partnerships with HSBC. You need the partnerships with KPMG. You need all of those things around the city. You need to sort of try and bring that together. And I think that's what Chris has done really, really well. But there's tons of really cool businesses in Birmingham. There's so many. I mean, well, look, you only need to look at some of the bigger ones. Yeah. So Gymshark, killed it, Birmingham-based business. Grenade, smashed it, Birmingham-based business. Lounge Underwear, smashed it, Birmingham-based business. All these ones that product e-commerce driven. I mean, less so Grenade, although they do sell online, obviously, but there's been much more about to the B2B market and to the resellers. But I mean, Gymshark is one of the most phenomenal stories from a business perspective to come out of Birmingham ever. Though that doesn't happen that often. And is it because Birmingham is starting to create a pool of people that have got that ambition, of entrepreneurship? I'm sure there was a stat. About Birmingham having more entrepreneurs than London, more new businesses started. I'm sure of it last year. That it was the top city for new businesses to start out of, and it's an important stat, that is, because I don't think when you look at investment and tech, you think of London. If you think about private equity and raising money and all that, everyone goes, we've got to go to London. Right. And I still think there's a lag. So if we've got the most amount of entrepreneurs and new businesses starting, we definitely haven't got the most amount of funding as a city. Not a chance.
No, I agree. But I think it will change. I can't wait to see what happens over the next 20 years, because I do think you're going to start to see that balance across the country. So yeah, bring it on. Let's see what happens. And we're perfectly placed, aren't we, for these businesses to come in? And if we're set up as one of the biggest social media publishing groups in the country, never mind Birmingham, then the opportunity is going to come our way as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, Jamie's put here that there's 250 million pound Midlands engine investment launched in 2018. But 250, obviously 250 million pounds is a lot of money. I sound like a dickhead saying it's not a lot of money. It is. But in the grand scheme of things, for a city that's trying to grow, that should be $1 billion.
Yeah.
If you really want to start making a dent in things. And I think that's where more support needs to come from investment. And pull that out of London. But I don't know what that does to the country really when you do that, when you remove that that investment from London startups. It's going to be a really interesting sort of play, I think, across the next couple of years, if that does happen and money starts to sort of spread more. I don't think it'll spread more equally necessarily. I think it will always be in London more than anywhere else. But if it did spread to cities like Bristol more and Leeds and Birmingham and Newcastle and Manchester, and I think it offers, because to say that the greatest entrepreneurs only exist in London is stupid. Yeah, they're all over the country. People just move to London to start their business a lot because they know they need, particularly if you're trying to raise money. If you've got an idea and you need money for it, you need to raise like a sizable amount of money. So many people just move to London to go and do that. It's like, like actors and comedians and, people who are musicians all move to London because they know that's where they've got to go and do it. But I think all of that is starting to change. You only have to look at the way music is distributed now and the way that people are becoming, like TikTok is making people musically famous from fucking Hull. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't need to be in London anymore. And I think it's kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's where the opportunity was. It's where the opportunity still is. Let's not be silly, but the way to access the opportunity was you had to do that. You had to move down there, and now the access isn't so. You can do it from your own home, like you just said there. It's through multiple apps. You don't have to be there in person anymore. So things are going to change, and for the better, I believe.
So we're gonna, as part of this, we believe in Birmingham a hell of a lot, and I think we want to try and tell the story of that as well. So hopefully, as of next week, we're just lining this up, but we want to start a new series called the 0121, which will still be part of the Drunken Brainwave, but we're going to try and run a sort of 10 to 15-ish part series with entrepreneurs, business owners, content creators, people who are trying to do something in Birmingham, people who are trying to build and grow something. We're going to get guests on each week. Really excited about this. You can tell that we've got a passion for Birmingham if you're listening to this, and we want to try and sort of tell some of the stories that are happening and some of the businesses that are starting. We're going to try and do that from next week onwards. What do you think? What do you think the biggest sort of challenge we've had with because like you said, the recruitment was the reason was one of the big reasons we moved to Birmingham for, like, we knew we were going to grow massively and, from like 50 to 200. What do you think the biggest challenge we've had in the recruitment drive?
Since moving to Birmingham, or?
Yeah. Like this, like, the latter end of 2020 and obviously now.
I don't. You know what? It's a really difficult question because I think a few of the blockers have been, I think, from us when it comes to recruitment. And I think, like, because we've never run an agency before and because we've not really had that many people come into the business from an agency background, it's all been difficult to sort of like really understand what type of person you need. And we're trying to recruit people from traditional agencies that probably overpay, and as a growing business, we probably couldn't have matched that. So I think for me, it's probably shitting on my own company now, but it was matching the people we want with what we were budgeting to pay them.
Yeah, which I think it is. It's hard, and we get. Obviously, we lean on our recruiter to position that, and they're often telling us, like, well, you're not, you're being unrealistic here on who we understand exactly who you want and we get it, but you're being unrealistic on what you want to pay them. And that's not because I don't think we pay poorly. I actually think we're probably just over the average in terms of where we're looking on things. But I think because of the scale we've got at the minute and where we're investing into the business, we've got to be dead careful on how much money we're spending. So I think it's a fair point. I think we've, I think operationally it's been hard on it as well. But just, when did we've been back in the business 2 weeks now. That's right, isn't it? Or is it 3?
This is the third week.
This is the third week. So in the first 2 weeks, we've hired six new people have started in the first 2 weeks. And that looks like that's going to carry on until like around the end of March. I mean, that's got saying that actually, I'm just like, shit, like it's operationally you end up hitting a bit of a blocker, don't you?
It's been difficult, like even just thinking about organizing interviews and going through those interview processes. It isn't the same. You have someone will have a dodgy connection. I've had people come in and out of an interview because either I've lost connection or they've lost connection, and it's a real shame sometimes because that would mortify me if I was interviewing for a role and my internet went and I had to come back in. I even had someone's phone battery die as well, which kind of, the problem was they were very honest and open and was like, I'm interviewing in between my lunch here. She had like, you know, a certain gap, and bless her, she said, I've got my battery plugged in, it's really low, I hope it doesn't go. And it went before the end of the interview. But I think it's been a struggle really trying to like judge people over a video call. I can barely see you now, Lee.
Is it really bad?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You're obviously on screen, but you look pixelated. And that's again, it's a problem, isn't it? Because I don't think people are actually set up to work from home in the capacity that we have been. But I guess that'll improve. I'm just looking forward to getting face to face in front of people, because that's when you can really judge people and you know, find out what they're really about, and they can put their best version of themselves across in person.
And I think equally when someone, you know, when we've got new people starting, and obviously, you know, we make sure that the induction process is, you know, I think we're always trying to improve that process. I think it's an important part of what we do, is making sure that people get to grips as quickly as they can, but also in not too quickly almost, you know. And I always have, as you do, basically when people get inducted at Electric House, they'll always have meetings booked in with each team leader of part of the business, and I'm no different. So I meet them as well, and I've like done a few this morning actually, and it's such a shame for them in the sense that most of them, because we've got production in the office, admittedly, but so if you start within production, you kind of get to go to the office, but if you don't, then there's this period of time where you might work within the business at the minute, you might work within the business for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then you have to go to the office. It'd be like starting again, won't it? It'd be like your first day again, which I think is a shame. Like it's usually try and get all that out of the way in the first week, don't you? But it's like people are going to have to sort of like come in, they'll know their little bubble, and then they're going to meet a shit ton of people they've never met before, be in a new office, don't know really where anything is, you know, like, and they've been working here for 6 months, mad.
Yeah, I'm almost apologetic. I am as well. When
I am as well. Yeah, I'm like exactly that at the minute.
I have to be like, don't worry. You know, you wait till we get in the office. It's so much better, because I've experienced working from home, and I actually like working from home now. But equally, I know if I went back to the office consistently, I'd be like, oh no, I really want to work from the office. And hopefully, a balance of the two is probably where I'm going to be happiest. But having that face-to-face interactions, and especially from the creative side, because we get together and we brainstorm, and there's people from various departments all around the table, and we're getting things on the whiteboard, and those creatives are like, they're so exciting for anyone in the business, no matter where you work. If you're a part of one of those creatives, fun ideas coming out and putting this campaign and a pitch together, it's a nice thing to be around. And to then not have that, it's been a problem. It really has. And you get so many people who don't contribute on the calls, because it's not as easy as being able to judge when someone stopped speaking and when to go in. And you have that blocker, and we're going to have to look at a get around for that. Can't just wait for the vaccine and everything to return to normal. I think we have to look at bringing something in where we can maybe be a little bit more collaborative. But even things like the perks of the office, the bar, you know, the playing pool and table tennis and darts, and we've got the auditorium with the big screen and, you know, playing computer games and stuff. Although a lot of people slag that stuff off and go, oh, you got beanbags and a pool table, have you? Oh, yeah, well done. Well, actually, they're there for a reason. They do work. You know, it's not just to go and look at us. People can get up from the chair when they're stressed out, go and have a game of pool. Believe me, it clears your head when you're not thinking about an edit, when you're not thinking about a client, when you're not thinking about a deadline. Get up. It doesn't matter if you go and sit down and read a book. You know, just go and do something elsewhere within the office. And, you know, I know you can do that at home, but it just feels completely different.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You got any advice for a smaller business going through like a big recruitment drive based on what we've done?
I'd say take your time over it. I think we've made rush decisions on people. I think you need to be even more careful when you're recruiting in the way that we are, when you're not doing face-to-face. I think you need to do a little bit more due diligence and, you know, maybe increased a minimum of 2 interviews. Got to be a minimum, more than just yourself in there. We try and get at least 3 to 4 people across a minimum of 2 interviews for sort of your roles that I'm interviewing for. So yeah, just take your time, don't rush into it, and set a task. Always set a task, because it is so difficult. And like I say, I feel sorry for people, because I've had that many interviews where it's like the communication over Google or Zoom has been that bad. It's like, it's cringe. I'm going, oh, this is terrible. God, I know they're good. I can already see it, but it's not coming across. We're missing cues, and have they finished? I'm starting. It's really awkward. So I'd say just take your time with it and be careful, but equally, you've got to give people a little bit more space, because it's not easy trying to judge. We had someone, Lee, give some feedback to us, didn't we, when there was like me, you, and Andy on an interview? Do you remember? And they
no, when was this?
This was for a PA role, and I think she said, it was a bit intimidating. I didn't expect it to be like 3 people firing questions at over Zoom. Oh no, we was all in the same room. That's what it was. So we were at work at the time in the boardroom, me, you, and Andy, and we've got like a wide, really good technology, but it's a wide cam, isn't it? So she was obviously expecting us to be like 4 faces on a screen, which probably would have been easier for her to then read each one of us as we're asking questions. But because it was on a wide camera, we're all sat away 2 meters apart in a boardroom. She couldn't see our facial expressions. She didn't understand who was talking sometimes, because it was all just coming from one camera.
Yeah.
And her feedback was it was one of the worst interviews she'd had. So then we learned off that and said, yeah, probably, absolutely right. That's on us, that is. So I guess, yeah, you've got to just think through the process and think about how they feel about it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's the saying? It's hire slow, fire fast, and I think that's good advice for any size business. I think the difference is sometimes when you're a smaller business, you just need someone so quickly. But I think my advice would be, similar to ads in terms of take your time, but also plan for that time. So, and we do this still, where we're like, right, this is the budget, they'll be in January. And then when you start sitting to it and we speak to the recruiter, they're like, are you fucking mad? Like, what are you going on about? What, you want us to find someone for a 45 grand role in like 2.5 weeks? Like, what? And you want them to start as well? You're stupid. And I think that's where just allowing that time in your timeline and your budget or whatever it is, so that you're not caught out, so that you're not expecting, say you're expecting a result in February, and because you think you can hire this person in January, whereas in reality, this person isn't going to be starting until the end of Feb or start of March, and it knocks out all your budget or your revenue or whatever. So I think planning's key on recruitment, and we constantly revisit. I mean, we revisit it every week at the moment. We have a recruitment meeting every week to just check, 1, if we're on track, 2, if it needs to change, and 3, if we can still afford to do what we're doing. It's all bound on money coming in as well, which is still quite hard as well, actually, because you're still sort of trying to get, you've made your decisions, but then you still need to make decisions as you're going along, which is annoying, really, but you kind of got to do it. We're still at that stage where like cash is still important. We're not an unlimited amount of pot of money. Like,
yeah. And one thing I would say, if you're coming at this from an angle of applying for jobs, then I would do a little bit more work when you turn up to an interview and maybe present something or send something ahead, because if the tech lets you down, at least they've got something to look at and go, okay, we know what this person's about. And everyone that I've interviewed that has presented something, or they've added something that I thought I didn't even ask for, I've been overwhelmed with what they've done. So you've got to stand out from your competition on that front.
Even more so at the moment. If you're applying for jobs at the moment, make no mistake and be under no illusion that there's not 10 times the amount of applicants that are applying. And you don't, as someone who's applying, you don't get to see that. You don't get to see the stats. But talking to culture heads, our recruitment company we use, they're getting like 400 or 500 applicants for one role in some situations, particularly within like production and like because there's a shit ton of freelancers who did have work who now don't. Instantly overnight. So I think there's it's a really good advice. It's doing something to make yourself stand out and show your personality. And because what are we trying to do really in a first interview? For me, it's all about fit. It's I couldn't really. The technical side of things goes into the second interview for me, where you start really grilling people. The first one is about like them and like, yes, can they do the job? Of course, but you probably wouldn't interview them if you don't think that anyway. But for me, it's always like, have they got the right vibe? Do I feel like they've got the right values? Do they share that with us? Are they going to bring something different? You know, it's fine being different. Like, I love the fact, it's what we're gagging for at the minute, isn't it? Is people with different points of view, different cultures, different backgrounds. But that core value of, you know, the togetherness, the consistency, the creativity, you know, we want to see that. And I think, if you can just make yourself stand out that little bit in that first interview, and you stand a chance of getting through to a second. So yeah, I completely agree with that. It's really good advice. Jamie's put in here, he's just put like a note in the viral TikTok sea shanty came from Bristol. What do you mean it came from Bristol? Jump in now, Jamie. Come on, jump in. Here he is. What do you mean it came from Bristol?
I believe that was actually from Bex, but I think she's talking about.
Oh, it is from Bex. Sorry, Bex.
I'll bring Bex.
Bex is on in the audio. Come on, Bex. What was this about? I know the TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah. So the viral sea shanties that are going around on TikTok. It apparently began with a shanty group from Bristol called the Longest Johns.
And they made the video? You mean that like the audio clip was from them?
Yeah, apparently they made the original audio clip that people have been singing over and sharing on TikTok.
I was reading a load of stuff about the four guys who were in that picture. They're from Birmingham. And I've been reading a few stories about them lately, and I just, you know what, I feel so sorry for them because they've just been hammered, like, incredible, and it just keeps coming back to haunt them. It just comes in different waves. That meme does. That photo I don't think it's ever not going to be used, and I mean that in the sense it could disappear for 2 years, but someone will bring that back because it's just perfect to like rip into British culture, isn't it? It's like. You could not see it for a decade and it will come back again.
Yeah, I think they've took it well, though. There was on this Good Morning Britain.
Were they?
They're on national TV, but I think they are going to get opportunities now, and you know what? Fair play to them, and they've took it well because a lot of people have been, you know, I think they received death threats and all sorts, like, you know.
Yeah, the one lad. Yeah. The one lad I'd seen still wouldn't like communicate with the press. There was 3 of them that were, and the one wouldn't. Like the one in the middle, the more stockier one, he was like, because I think he'd received like real bad, like hate from it, which is just like so unfair, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just 4 lads having a photo when they're out in town.
We've all worn crap clothing at one point, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got a velour hoodie on.
I mean, you know, someone's got it, haven't they? But yeah, I mean, fair play to them. I think they have took it well. I'd love it if they start getting opportunities from it. I would love it if one of them gets on, like, it just becomes like, you know, famous from it, and you can just be like, "Wait, how did he start his career? Oh yeah, he's the shanty meme."
You know what we need to do? We need to find out if one of them's a tradesman.
Oh mate, they're all 3 of them are engineers, I think.
Are they?
They are. What? Jamie just put one of them's a plumber. Oh mate, there we go. There's original piece of content about to drop.
Yeah.
Oh mate, action that after this. Lob that into the original team.
I'm gonna know.
That's a belter. Yeah, I'm sure some of them are engineers. When I was reading it, that's great that one's a plumber. Oh my God, we've got to get him. Hilarious. And on that note, I feel like we're coming to an end. Like I said, we are going to be rolling out the new series, the 0121, which is all about people trying to build and grow something in Birmingham. So we'll be speaking with really exciting, inspiring entrepreneurs, business leaders, content creators. I think it's going to be wicked. hidden gems, in my opinion. I think there'll be some really, really great things going on in Birmingham. So please tune in for that. Hopefully next week. Jamie, are we saying for next week? Is this what's going to happen? We're going to have this guest for next week? Yes, then. I thought he was going to come back. Oh, he is. He's coming. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
Yeah, we're going to have someone for next week.
Brilliant. So we'll start that series next week, guys, the 0121 series for the Drunken Brainwave. And I think we should call it a day. I've been Lee Wilcox.
I've been Adam Barry.
And this has been the Drunken Brainwave, episode 12. Tune in again next week. Love y'all.
Bye. Well, thank you very much for listening. Quite enjoyed that one. Birmingham Talk 0121. Always my favourite subject, being from the Midlands and all that. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And do not forget to head over to our YouTube channel, Lee and Adam, and subscribe over there, because we are putting out weekly content just as good as the podcast. And don't forget to join us next week, where we'll hopefully have a Midlands-based guest on, and we'll be talking all things Birmingham.
Love it. Yes, I can't wait for this. The 0121's going to be mint.
So, yeah, until then, see you later. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.